Hello, my name's Colonel Failure, and this is Train Fever. I've got the fever, and the only remedy is more trains. What are we going to do? So, in this playthrough, we're going to start from 1850 and see just how far we can go. I've touched on the game a little bit already. I've played maybe, I don't know, 10, 12 hours, I guess. Not particularly effective. Signalling particularly gets me down. And generating a profit is something that I am not particularly brilliant at this time. So before we just let the time run away with us any further, I'll pause the progress of time. So let's have a quick look around this map. We're going all medium all the time, so it's not completely flat, it's not completely difficult, and it's not completely small. You can invert those, obviously, in whatever way takes your fancy. So what have we got? We've got Tewkesbury over here with a little bit of, what's that? Is that coal or oil? Coal, thank you very much. Tewkesbury. Over here we've got Selsey with a coal and steel mill. Yeah, that's what they call that. Yes, you will also bump into on a regular basis my complete lack of expertise at the game. So if you do have any tips or suggestions to add, please stick them in the comments below, because I am more than willing to take on board any feedback that you may have. Of course, I can't promise that I act on that feedback, and am prone to making the same mistakes repeatedly. But check my username if you think that's some kind of coincidence. Okay, we've got Slough, we've got Wadhurst, we've got Woking, Haverhill, Ripon, Bexhill-on-Sea, the perhaps inappropriately named Bexhill-on-Sea. This is already speaking to me as a favoured place to start. Great Torrington, Bromsgrove, Billericay, Westmoreland, Kirkham, and Chard. Now, what I've done previously when I've played through this is I've had a quick look and see where the smallest city was, to see if I could use that as a starting point. Largely because getting the population to grow is something of a mission. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but it is slightly more difficult than simply just letting it be. So let's have a quick look. So Tewkesbury and Kirkham would appear to be the least populated city. So here's Kirkham. Tewkesbury, I think, is in the corner, wasn't it? There we go. Tewkesbury. So we could do a Tewkesbury kind of setup. Actually, Bexhill-on-Sea is also quite small. Yep, we're going to start Tewkesbury. Right, fine. Okay, let's have a look at the lay of the land. Now, what I've found so far is that the easy money early on, there's two schools of thought. I mean, building up a fairly successful bus network for commuters is relatively straightforward. Well, you say buses, it's horses and carts in 1850. Whereas there is better money to be made by using trains. Setting up the track in the first place is extremely expensive. So I think I'm going to go with the cheap option. Or is that oil? Right. So we could even possibly get some goods being manufactured through through some judicious oil refining. I think that's what we'll do. Okay. Well, we'll start off quite simply. So I'm going to go with the buses route to begin with, and then hopefully migrate that to use trains relatively quickly. Largely because the trains always make much more profit, but the cost to set up is significantly higher. So the first thing I want to do is just create some loops around the glorious town of Tewkesbury, so that we can put a couple of bus routes in there, or maybe just one bus route. Right then. And I also want to. The other thing that's well worth doing, because it's compulsory purchase orders, where you buy up people's property and replace it with a nice big station, are not cheap. Buying people's houses out is an expensive pastime. So you want to try and future-proof yourself by thinking about where you're going to stick eventual train stations. okay. So obviously, with this being right up against the kind of the eastern side of this map and in the southern corner, then we're going to think about going on the kind of the western or the northern side of the city with any stations that we build. All right, we'll worry about that later. Right, first things first, let's think about our loop. Now, I like to go in an anti-clockwise fashion. So we want to try and hit the existing population as much as possible. We don't want too many stops, but I'm not certain, maybe someone can confirm this, but I think that simply by offering transport services, you're encouraging growth around individual towns, which I guess makes sense. Easy transit for people, just does make the place more appealing. Right, where are we going? We're going to go around here. Okay, that's a fairly simple initial loop there. Right, we're going to need a bus depot. Depot's possibly a little grandiose for this stage of things. Right, I'm going to stick this on the outskirts of town because I'm going to want to add in transportation routes for cargo as well, and so there's no real sense in having that bang in the centre of town. Next up, we're going to need to create our first line. So lines for the uninitiated are the routes that your vehicles are going to take, and we're going to go around here in a fairly elongated kind of circuit, but the upshot should be pretty glamorous. There we go. So we've got 6 stops on this first line, which we shall call the Tewkesbury Circle. In fact, for the benefit of brevity, this will be the Tukes Circle. How are you going to get there? I'm going to take the Tukes Circle. Marvellous. All right. And next up, we're going to build ourselves more than one, I think. Right. Let's buy ourselves a road vehicle, or a stagecoach, as it is at this stage of things. Let's get the clock running. All right, and then we'll set that onto the Tukes Circle. And if we time whiz a little here, I know, forgive the technical language, we'll time whiz until this is probably about halfway around, and then we'll add in a second one to service the same route. Now, it's going to take a little while before they start making any money, simply because right now everybody's happy walking everywhere, and they need to come to terms with the fact that there's this glorious new stagecoach that is prepared to whisk you around town for a very modest fee. See, we've already got 1 passenger waiting here. Magnificent. Okay, so you're now, what, 2 stops into the route? I think at 3 stops we'll set our second vehicle in motion. Tremendous. As with so many transport management games, you do spend quite a lot of time hanging around, waiting for stuff to happen. Nothing wrong with that. Part of the fun of this is watching what you've built get things done. Right. Okay. Let's go and follow this cart on its maiden voyage. Now, I like to keep the lines menu open as much as possible, so that I can keep a track on whether that line is actually profitable. Let's take a more dramatic angle. There we go, driving around the glorious town of Tewkesbury at high speed. If we go to regular speed here, you'll see it is quite sedate. I also didn't clock that it was quite that steep a hill. Hills, of course, when you're laying any kind of roads or rail or anything along those lines, become a real pain in the backside, but that's okay. We can work around that. Tunnels are cool, after all. Fabulous. Okay, so that's so we've got two stagecoaches running around town. The autosave will kick in from time to time. Apologies for that, but I'd rather autosave and lose a little frame rate here and there than chance it and potentially lose my progress. Of course, we have now rotated the map. I'm going to try and keep the orientation in the same way as much as possible, so that we can all be on the same page when we're talking about north, east, south, and west. Right, marvellous. Okay, let's bring my lines menu back up again. So we're down 6.5 grand on this route. Hopefully, that will start to turn itself around once the passengers get on board with the fact that there's this glorious new way to travel. Now, next thing I was thinking is it going to be worth bringing oil all the way from here up to there? Now, goods are generated. This has got quite a simple industry structure for a game of this kind. There are, I think, 4 different raw resources that can be combined variously or independently into making goods, and those goods will make your city grow. Assuming, of course, and I think it's a little grandiose to be using the word city at this point in time. So your town, the right application of goods can make your towns grow, but only if they're delivered. If we turn the cargo overlay on here, what we'll see is that's suggested an alternative. So instead of going all the way out for oil, we could just go and get the coal from here. At the moment, this is kind of auto shipments. Now, auto shipments are never going to be as fast as if I do them myself. Plus, you don't get to dictate where they go. So the coal's going up here to this steel mill, along with iron ore from this steel mill. The upshot of which, of course, is that goods are being developed, and that's these kind of, I guess, cardboard boxes, cardboard box icons. And some of them are heading up towards Haverhill, and some of them are heading in the general direction of Tewkesbury, which is where we want them. Nice to see. Where are we? October, and our balance is actually starting to resolve. So I think the smart money here is very much on setting up to increase the goods production here. Goods you don't deliver terribly often because the distances tend to be quite long, but the return on your investment can be pretty handy. So let's give it a spin and see what happens, shall we? So let's put our destination in place. And then let's have another one here, so that people can pick up, and one more down at the coal. Magnifico. Okay, and then we're going to need 2 routes for this one, 2 lines. The first one is going to go from Tewkesbury South. I'm going to rename that. Up to the steel mill. Right, job done. And we'll name this Tewkes, as is the abbreviation that we'll be sticking with. This is Tewkes Coal. Smashing. And then for my next trick, we're going to want another, and that one is going to go from the iron ore mine up to the steel mill as well, and that perhaps unsurprisingly is going to be Tewkes Iron. And then one more, and that's going to go from the steel mill here into something I haven't built yet. Oh, okay, right, we'll abandon that. We'll figure that out in a minute. Right, let's get the raw materials moving. Right, give me 2 horses and carts. You go and work on the coal. I hadn't intended to put both of you on it, but what the hey. Yeah, okay, that might be a mistake when it comes down to it. Right, you, hold on, come here. Let's send you back to the depot. Let's not go overboard on delivery to start with, because until those mines are relatively upgraded, they're not going to be able to keep up with the demand of having multiple vehicles go to them. So let's set you on. Where did I put you on? On coal. So you're on iron. Off you go. Get to work. Right. And then we need one more good stop in town. What do they call these stations? Truck stations. Yeah. Let's start over this side. Right, and then one this line here. You're going to go from, so you've gone from Tewkesbury North into Tewkesbury itself. Annex, apparently. Okay, right. So this is going to be called Tewkes Steel, which is the goods that we're ending up with. All right, smashing. Now I'm going to give that a few minutes to actually have some steel to ship out before I assign any trucks to it, because otherwise they're going to just do an empty run, which is going to cost me money. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be making masses of money from this to begin with, but hopefully after a little while we'll be able to see a good return on investment. So where are we up to? Tewkes Circle has now made us 8 grand, 11 grand in this year. It's starting to pay off quite nicely. As mentioned, this is never going to make me very, very rich. The goal on that side is to upgrade to trains. Well, upgrade, I think, augment the existing service with trains as well. The profit you can make from a good train line is much higher than you can make from these bus routes. That said, as soon as you can do intercity bus routes, so as soon as you move from one town to another, with your route, you can make good cash. So hold on, there we go. What are you carrying there, Bucko? Right, he's heading down to the coal plant. Let's follow him, shall we? Now it's quite a long route, and carts aren't renowned for their speed. But obviously, since we're sped up, it should be more effective. Okay, so he's going to go trotting down this country lane. Now, country roads are all important, and they are a pain in the backside, because the game auto-generates these when you set up to begin with, and you have to maintain the connection from one town to the next. You can't sever the connection. If you wish to do so, you have to create what's known as a bypass. So far, so easy. However, creating said bypasses can prove, let's say, challenging. And this actually took me a little while to figure out how to do. Not least of all because the country lanes are hidden lower down the road menu, so it's not immediately apparent where the hell you're supposed to do that. Anyway, we'll get on to the joys of that once I start monkeying around later on with upgrading roads and so on. Okay, so our first load of coal. Good. Right, that's our truck depot there, actually doing what we're paying it to do, and it's grabbing coal from the coal mine. And as you can see, I mean, this is with the game running at full tilt. It's gonna take this fella a little while to get to his destination. See if the iron fella has just tipped up, as we're seeing in the mini window here. But no, that was very much a negative on any kind of a payday there. Okay, well maybe it's got a little further to go. Okay, I think that'll wrap it up for this time around. Be sure to tune in next time when you'll see how this develops. I'll probably allow this to play forward just a little, up to the point where it's worth me getting the steel run on the go. Actually, this chap's about to make a delivery, but I don't think he's carrying anything. No, no, he has got a full load of iron. Okay, smashing. In that case, that will be a better place to wrap up. Right, okay. Yeah, brace yourself. This is going to be pretty momentous stuff when Tuke's iron here comes into profit for the first time. Ready? Brace yourself. I hope you're sitting down. Wait for it. Here we go. Big thrills. 15 grand. You know, very nice. Not bad for a single run. Obviously, there's going to be a problem with the amount of time it takes the iron to deliver versus the coal. We're probably going to need to do double the number of coal shipments. But we'll worry about that next time. Thanks for tuning in. I've been Colonel Failure, and I'll catch you next time around.